Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm so happy that you're here. This podcast is a place for conversations about balancing a healthy lifestyle and being happy. More specifically, happy hour. Together, we'll explore all things wellness and wine. I hope you learn a little, laugh a lot, and along the way, know you're not alone on this balanced wellness journey. Ready to jump in? Pour something in your glass that makes you happy because it's time for Spandex and Wine. Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney. Today's guest, Anne Bernardin, is a thriving type 1 diabetic sharing her diabetes care and kitchen strategies. Through her podcast, The Talking Apron, as well as her website and courses, she shares ideas and tips and has created a community for those overwhelmed, frustrated, and struggling with diabetes care. She is here to help you plan your meals to eat more nutritiously and thrive. Well, hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast, Anne. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I so appreciate it, Robin.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
It's funny because so many people give social media a bad rap, and I feel like I've made so many wonderful connections via Facebook and Instagram. You're one of those people, and I came across you, and I saw that your focus was on diabetes, but more from the standpoint of the kitchen, like what you put into your body, not just for diabetes, but for overall health. And so I was excited to have you on as a guest.
Well, thank you so much. Yes, my journey to what I'm doing now actually started very, very young. So my parents' business, my dad's business was called Gourmet Food Services, and he would sell freezers, and he would stock the freezers with frozen meat. So my job in middle school and high school was actually to help package the meat, put it in 1 pound packages. It wasn't automated. And that beginning, and also as a middle child of 8 children, my job was to help cook. So at a young age, I learned how to prep and to cook. And our family was so large, we utilized our freezer a lot. There was no wing dinner when you have 8 children. So I learned the techniques that I support my clients with way back when. It's how I've been eating my whole life. I fill my freezer, I have a garden, and I eat whole foods because it ends up being much, much cheaper. Fast forward, I was so interested in nutrition my whole life. You know, my kids would say, "Mommy, I don't feel good." And I'd say, "Have a glass of water and get to bed early." You know, I didn't have a lot of over-the-counter medication because if you take care of your health in a different way, it was just different. So in my mid-40s or so, I became a nutrition teacher.
Cool.
And while I was teaching nutrition, I became a type 1 diabetic, and I am insulin dependent. And as a type 1, I'm a little bit of an anomaly and outlier because I was 50. How did that happen?
I know. I always thought type 1 was something that you were born with.
Not born, because you can be diagnosed at 6 years, 13. But way back when, it was just more on the young side. But when I walked into, there's a story behind it. Some of my podcasts go in a little bit more to my diagnosis. But, you know, I told my doctor I was a youthful diabetic because it used to be called juvenile diabetes. And that's what JDRF, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, is about. But I was thankful at the time I was teaching nutrition. I knew what a carbohydrate was. I knew how the body worked. I was thankful because I could control my diabetes pretty quickly. And I was a cook. So the struggles, there's still plenty of struggles when you're type 1. It's not easy peasy. But I call myself a thriving diabetic because I'm managing it just fine. Yes, I have my highs and yes, I have my lows. But overall, I got this. And the podcast evolved out of this because I saw a lack in our what's provided medically, specifically for type 2 diabetics, in the education part. When you get diagnosed, whichever diabetes, it takes time for you to see a nutritionist or a dietitian, etc. 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Well, what do you do in between that?
Yeah.
So how I guide, mentor people, and what the podcast is about is for that in-between time. Everything about the kitchen, for organizing, planning, utilizing your freezer, proteins, etc. But on a one-to-one level, I help people take away the overwhelm and get a plan in place. I am not a medical professional.
Yeah.
Don't even say I'm an educator.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Educate about what you might need to be doing. Ask the right questions of your physician, nutritionist, but fill in the gaps. A lot of people don't know what the disease does to your body. You know, at time of diagnosis for me, started with Charlie horses. That's why I made my doctor's appointment. It went to my eyes getting blurry, and I had to carpool because I couldn't see well enough to drive anymore. It was too blurry.
Oh, wow.
I had plaque on my teeth. Now, these are all separate doctors over a period of 6 weeks that could have pointed to diabetes, but then again, I was older.
Right.
I would rethink that. So plaque on your teeth, that's high sugar. Female, I had yeast infections and fissures, and my doctor was just like, oh no, that's menopause. Okay, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, other things going on. There's a list of like 10.
Yeah.
All affected by high blood sugar. And when you go into the doctor's office, you may have some foggy brain and you think, oh, I'm aging, instead of it's high blood sugar. And everybody's body reacts differently to high blood sugar. That's what I hope to be able to give to those newly diagnosed: information, so they're aware, so they can make better choices for themselves, to be accountable for their own diabetes care, for their own health.
Yeah.
You know? And that's, as you can tell, I'm passionate about this.
Yeah.
And as I said, I gave 3 presentations and talks to the library system about 5 or 6 years ago. That started because I was getting angry, and this is quote unquote for the listeners here. Please hear me out.
Yep.
I was getting angry with type 2 diabetics who weren't doing anything. I got to have my sweet tea. I'm going to eat as much pasta as I want. I'm going to do this. And I was getting angry because I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
If you're a type 2 diabetic, you have different choices. Diabetes will never go away for either type 1 or type 2. But with type 2, if you do certain things, you can get off medications. And you can live a pretty great life with any, I'll call it, future side effects. I decided to take that anger and research. And what I found out is you go into your primary care physician, they say, oh, your sugar's a little high here, let me give you a prescription. They don't say, this is what it is. This is what happens in 15 years if your A1C is above X. This is what's going to, 15 years from now, you do nothing, you're going to go blind and have an amputation on your feet.
Yeah.
That's not talked about.
Yeah.
Not. So I don't want to say directness or bluntness. No, I can be pretty direct and blunt, but it's not about harm. It's about be educated. It's about learn. And that's how, either through my podcast or my link, it's just about sharing enough so people have choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I love the services that you're providing because you're right. If there's a span between doctor's appointments and you don't know what to ask or you don't know what to research, or there's so much misinformation out there too. So to be able to go into those appointments and have questions and
Right.
question what they're telling you, like, okay, well, what does this mean? Like, I love that you're providing that for people. That's awesome.
Well, thank you, because I don't have the answers. I'm not a medical professional. I am not your doctor. I am not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what I am is a strategist, a planner, and someone who listens. And I can help navigate the confusion in someone's brain
Mm-hmm.
and pull out the pieces of importance to that person and then make a plan from there. Because it's about making a plan of how you want to take care of yourself
Yeah.
after your diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's the piece. There was nobody there for me. In fact, because I was teaching nutrition, my endocrinologist said, I'm not going to send you to a dietitian. You know more than she does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
And you've been eating whole foods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yes, I have seen dietitians. Some have been helpful, some haven't, because, read the back of the label and know how many carbohydrates. Well, guess what? I don't eat packaged yogurts.
Right.
I measure my own rice. Thank you very much. I don't have processed foods.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
counting carbs differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'd like to go back just a little bit when you were talking about your garden and all of those things. And you were saying overall, it is less expensive to eat that way. And some people argue it's so expensive to eat healthy. So what would you say to that?
Well, I would say, one, I have a podcast. I think it came out last week.
Okay.
In regards to budgeting, etc.
Okay, cool.
So when you start eating mindfully for your diabetes care, there are certain food groups that will be taken, food types that will be taken out of your diet
Mm-hmm.
on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with potato chips and boxed cereal.
Okay.
Boxed cereal is highly, highly, highly processed.
Yeah.
It's also $4 a box. You can go through that, 2 or 3 days?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe 4 or 5. And when you consider what that cost is in a period of a month, okay,
Yeah.
so that's $20 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, $20 a month in cereal. I can buy a bottom round roast, put it in my crock pot, and get 15 meals of good protein out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have my protein for 15 meals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of strategizing differently. Now, potato chips. I eat potato chips, but not very often because they are my weakest link.
Okay.
If potato chips is in my house, I have a hard time saying no.
Yeah.
So I treat myself to it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I can have French bread and white bread and all types of bread in my house, and I will not go to it.
Okay.
I don't have to. Do I eat bread? Not recently because of a gut issue, but that's a whole different podcast. So, when you start looking at your budget and when you start changing up how you eat, your priorities change and you start shopping differently too.
Mm-hmm.
Because part of being a diabetic is, well, what am I going to be eating? And I changed to start eating simply. I don't need a wide variety of meats. I need a wide variety of flavors.
Okay. Okay.
So if I can find my grass-fed ground beef at one location at a good price, well, guess what? I'm going to buy 6 weeks worth.
Yeah.
And then I know how to change it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the American way changed in the 70s. Because I was from a large family, my mom tried Hamburger Helper, some box seasoning, okay?
Yeah.
It was too expensive for us.
Yeah.
It was
I
too
could see
expensive.
that.
A box of noodles and some ground beef, you could feed a family of 8 much better. So that's also where my background was helpful in knowing when you stick to whole foods, it's less expensive. We didn't have snacky foods, cookies, sweets. No, 3 meals a day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't buy protein. Well, I should abbreviate that. Sometimes I have protein bars, but I have food that won't melt or be bad when you freeze in the car for my T1 emergencies.
Yeah.
There's certain things I have to buy, and they are ready made because they last longer.
Yeah.
But that idea that I also think it's an excuse. I'll be bold enough to say that. Oh, I can't eat that way because it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Do I eat out? Not very much, but I do. I don't eat out because the food I make at home is better quality.
Yeah.
If I'm traveling, absolutely. Do I like Chick-fil-A? Yes. Do I like McDonald's filet-o-fish? Yes. Do I like the spicy chicken at Wendy's? Yes. Do I eat them? No, not all.
Yeah.
Do I go out to restaurants? Sure. But I have gotten so where I appreciate the food I make because of the health. I know it's nutrient dense. I know it's going to take care of my body, etc. So I try to give tips on how you can start small, one thing at a time. Change up how you eat little by little, and then you'll start reaping the rewards of, that it could be a little less expensive, even if it's break even.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's kind of appreciating food in a different way.
Oh, absolutely.
Dessert would be potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
But even dessert in my house is food, because I made a chocolate pudding on the fly the other day because I wanted something sweet. Is it really sweet? It's not. It's chocolate. It's a bar of chocolate, coconut oil, and avocado, coconut cream, maybe a little almond milk whipped up. And sometimes I drizzle peanut butter on top. Yes, it's high fat. I don't eat high fat all the time, but I can have a tablespoon of that thing and I've had my dessert. But it has avocado in it that has fiber.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's eating a little bit differently.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. It's funny. I've made the avocado mousse before, and it's so good.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's so good. And it's dense enough where I'm satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yesterday, I'm going to give a little more ideas on how I cook.
Okay.
So my house is on the market. I'm making a East Coast to West Coast move.
Oh, wow. That's big. Okay.
And the last 2 weeks have been hustle with getting my home ready for photographer and sales. So I haven't done a lot of cooking. And I'm thankful I had food in my freezer. So between my salads and then pull out a cooked chicken, pull out the cooked ready-made shrimp, pull out. My breads are in the freezer because I also cook for one.
Okay.
But yesterday I did my batch cooking. 3.5 hours I cooked.
Wow.
Because my house is going on the market next week, and you get a call from your realtor.
Yeah.
And you've got half-baked something in the oven and your kitchen's a mess, you can't have.
Right.
So
right.
Part of cooking is planning ahead, looking at your calendar, knowing what's in your freezer. So yesterday, 3.5 hours, that was 7:30 to, what is that, about 10:30? Yep, 10:30, 11, I finished up. It was a big one. But the results, sauteed mushrooms for my extra. I made baked chicken, and I made a chicken curry with onion, celery, and sweet potato. Then I made cauliflower mash. The second half of the cauliflower mash was mixed with the rest of the sweet potato to make a cauliflower sweet potato soup.
Yum.
And I'm thinking up in my brain, there may have been more on the savory, but I think that's it. And then I baked some lemon muffins.
Yum, delicious.
As well as some biscuits. Some of this is going to be frozen, some isn't. So that's my food for this week. And I'll probably go out and buy a roast. I need to supplement my proteins.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm someone that eats a lot of protein. At my age, protein also helps build bone. And I'm of an age where I have to pay attention to my bone. So protein at every meal. And I can't stop being a meat eater because of my upbringing. It's what I know, and that's okay. So for 3.5 hours, I think I figured out to have something like 20 meals or a piece of 20 meals.
Okay.
Vegetable done, soup is done, this is done. And that's how you save time.
Yeah.
I don't have to make every single portion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so cool.
And I rotate. I do have a meal planning system that's what I use that will be made into some type of online course by the end of the year, but it works specifically for single people.
Yeah.
How to create and batch cook and make meals when you're single.
Okay. Well, not just when you're single though, too. I mean, even if you're like an empty nester like me. So, adding one more person isn't a huge deal. And that was going to be my next question. If you had courses, if you have a cookbook, if you have some type of membership that people could sign up for.
Well, membership is coming.
Okay.
So that's in the next couple of weeks. Course, I have something called Diabetes Demystified. It's actually a $7 course.
Wow.
And it's for diabetics. And it's a donation to the American Diabetes Association. This is me giving back. So
look at you. You are awesome.
So it's an important thing for me to give information to give. So thank you. It's diabetes is a worldwide problem, and traditional medicine isn't helping. It's treating people, but something's got to give, and I hope to do my little portion of what can we do? What can I do to make my existence worthwhile, my existence with type 1 diabetes? I want it for something, not a pity party for myself. Woe is me. Yeah. I was going to swear, but I don't know if you swear, Robin, on your podcast. I listened to a couple, but this, don't want that. So anyway, do want to talk about wine though.
Oh, let's do. Okay, cool. So you incorporate wine into your diet. You make it work.
I don't.
You don't. Okay, let's talk about it then.
I don't. So one, where I'm moving in California is wine country.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
But I am sensitive to insulin and I'm sensitive to carbohydrates and how the last time I started to drink wine because it was working fine, and I have been a wine drinker, etc. And you can start putting little bits in. But the last time I drank wine, I ended up in the emergency room.
Oh, yeah, let's not do that then. Okay.
No, so certain diabetics react differently. Their bodies process alcohol differently. So have I had sips of wine? Absolutely. Do I taste wine? Yes. But a full glass is kind of out of the range for what I can do now. Can I put a little Bailey's in my coffee? Sure.
Yeah.
But having a Black Russian or, anything like that, that's just part of my life. Not all diabetics.
Right.
Each diabetic's so different. You have to be a science experiment. You have to be a science. So I know I'll be drinking wine when I get to California destination, but it's going to be a sipping.
Right.
A couple sips and, not a full glass. I drop way too fast. My blood sugar just drops, and that gets dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't like giving that responsibility to somebody else that's not educated.
Yeah.
If I'm out, and that's not an okay thing to do. So
Yeah.
I'm accountable and responsible for my own self, and I choose, let's not do that.
Yeah, that's very wise. That is wise. Knowing your body. Like, I mean, when you were talking, I was also thinking, people don't understand when they make better decisions, you feel better, but sometimes you don't know that until you take something completely out of your diet and then you add it back in. Like, for example, I love Chinese food, but I cannot eat Chinese food because I feel terrible. It doesn't even matter where I get it. I just feel terrible. So once you start experimenting with your diet, I feel like then it's very eye-opening. It's very eye-opening to count your macros, to take a look at labels, see what's on the labels. Oh my gosh. I think people would just just for 3 days, if you would start looking at labels, see what you're putting in your body. Oh my gosh. I think you'd be surprised.
Well, and the feeling good part is really part of the science experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even putting in your body, but also smelling. You may hear that my voice is a little bit different. It's gravelly. It's not usually so gravelly, but I just put new carpets in, and I've had the windows open, but it affects my voice. Our bodies get affected by everything.
Yeah.
I can't drink milk.
Okay.
Milk gives me a bellyache. It has since I was a kid, but I can eat certain cheeses.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So the low protein cheeses I can eat. When I have milk, I also get what's called a foggy brain. I'm just like, I'm not sharp.
Yeah.
In the mornings, I'm usually my sharpest. But guess what? I've also been on a half an hour walk. And well, this week it's 20-degree weather here in New England. So I've already done my morning walk.
Mm-hmm.
That starts my day. But then I also have my sit quiet time before the morning walk. So I do certain things in my life to help my mood, my feeling better. And if I get stressed or overwhelmed, I'm taking deep breaths. Mm-hmm. So health with diabetes, or any human, like you said, that science, being a science experiment and knowing, hey, what's going on with me right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need more sleep.
Yeah.
Then shut the TV off and walk upstairs and go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's noticing yourself that way.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's such good information. So your podcast is The Talking Apron.
That is correct.
That's such a cool name too. But where else can people find you? You mentioned that you had the $7 course. Where can people find that? Where can we find you on social media?
Social media is The Talking Apron.
Okay.
On Instagram, and also The Talking Apron Facebook, and also my name. If they want to follow Ann Bernardin.
Okay.
Bernardin, and it's Ann with an E. Go ahead and do that. I'm not sure if you have an introduction. I can give you the link.
Yeah, no, I'm going to put it all in the show notes, and then yep.
Terrific. And Diabetes Demystified just came out. I believe it's in my bio on Instagram, and also you can find it in Facebook.
Very cool.
That's where you find me. And there are links to set up appointments if you'd like to have a confidential introductory call to see if I could be of assistance to you.
Cool.
That's something available as well.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And going back to the very, very beginning, I think your father's business sounds so amazing. I wish that I had that.
Well, there are a couple national brands now of trucks that go around.
Yeah.
But back in the day, living in Northeast New England, Northeast Massachusetts, we would travel to Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire. There were no Walmarts. There were no grocery stores in every town. There wasn't. So people ate well through their freezer, and we would supply the meats and the size packages and the vegetables. And that's how it happened, how we supported, and now I do that for myself.
Yeah.
Even if I live 15 minutes from a grocery store, I shop every 2 weeks.
That's nice.
Wasting gas going in. No.
Yeah.
And I don't shop sales. back to that budgeting thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lie. No, I do shop sales specifically for only the foods that I use always. Now, I don't need to cut coupons and look at stuff because usually it's a waste and you buy and have too much in your pantry. And so.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And this was so wonderful. I really appreciate you hopping on and having this conversation with me.
Sure thing, Robin. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you. You take care.
All righty. Bye-bye now.
A big thank you to Anne for sharing all of that information with us. And she's right. It's not that hard to eat healthy and fuel your body correctly. We just have to make it a priority. Here are a few takeaways. 1, fill your freezer, start a garden, and eat whole foods. It ends up being less expensive in the end, both to your wallet and your long-term health care. 2, a diabetes diagnosis can be overwhelming. Having someone like Anne in your corner as an educator helping you navigate through the process can be very helpful to learn and to know the right questions to ask your doctor and nutritionist. 3, everyone's body reacts differently to high blood sugar. Symptoms might mimic other issues, so do your research. 4, when you start eating mindfully for diabetes care, there are certain food groups and types that will be taken out of your diet on a regular basis, but that doesn't mean never. 5, when you start eating healthier and budgeting, your priorities will shift. Try eating simply and eat a variety of flavors. 6, start small with one thing at a time to change up how you eat, and little by little, you will start reaping the rewards. 7, part of eating healthy is planning ahead, knowing what is in your freezer, prepping, and batch cooking. 8, knowing your body and being aware of how foods affect it is important. Take the time to listen to your body and eliminate any foods or alcohol that don't work for you. Thanks again to Anne. You can find all of this information in the show notes. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to follow Spandex and Wine so you don't miss an episode. To do this, just go to the podcast and click subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. Look for the plus sign or follow button. This is one of the best things that you can do for the podcast. If you'd also be willing to give a 5-star review, that would be amazing and much appreciated. Lastly, please share an episode with a friend or 5 to keep the love going, and join the Spandex and Wine community in our private Facebook group by searching Spandex and Wine. Feel free to reach out to me at any time by emailing info@spandexandwine.com or text me at 913-392-2877. I appreciate you. Thank you.